Hi everyone, my name is Steve from Trim That Weed, and today's video is all about growing your own asparagus at home. Make sure you watch right until the end to learn how easy it is, with a little care and patience, to grow these vegetables in your backyard. What you're going to need. First and foremost, you're going to need asparagus seeds, or one-year-old asparagus crowns. The crowns are almost always the better option, because they save you at least 1 year of waiting. Depending on the soils around you, you also may need to get a bit of soil and compost, enough for as much asparagus as you need to grow. For your tools, you'll need a small garden hoe, a water hose or watering can, depending on how much space you'll be using. How to plant asparagus. Here, we're going to briefly talk about two methods. The first will be on how to plant asparagus seeds, and the second will talk about the use of asparagus crowns. Step 1. Identifying a suitable location. Asparagus is a plant that ideally grows and stays productive for anything between 15 to 30 years. And you, therefore, need to pick a spot where you will be comfortable having the plants grow for at least a decade. Also, they do pretty well in loose, fertile soils, preferably loamy soil. Your patch needs to fit the criteria, but if you do not have the above, you can source a bit of soil and mix it with compost for a suitable planting environment. Finally, be certain to pick a spot that enjoys a good deal of sunlight. Asparagus can do well in moderately shady areas, but it does exceptionally well when planted in regions that experience at least 8 hours of sunlight in a day. Step 2. Prep the ground. To get the ground ready for planting, begin by getting rid of weeds, twigs, stones, and other forms of debris. You want your asparagus seeds and crowns to grow with minimal disturbance. This is a step that could easily take more than a year, especially if your chosen patch has been home to stubborn weeds and grasses. Asparagus is a plant that has very little tolerance to weeds, and it will not thrive where there is competition. Planting asparagus seeds. To plant the seeds, you will need to make a flat seed bed. Before planting them, soak the seeds in water for 3 to 6 hours. Proceed to plant them one at a time, at a depth of ½ an inch deep into the soil. They will be ready for transplanting in 10 to 12 weeks. Once ready for transplanting, prep the patch where you intend to plant them as directed above. Then make rows that are 3 to 6 inches apart from each other, and make sure to plant each individual asparagus at least 18 inches apart from the previous one. To keep the transplanted seedlings moist, cover the crowns with loose soil and make sure they get at least an inch of water every week. Have in mind that planting seeds will mean having to wait about 3 years for your first harvest. Planting asparagus crowns. For home propagation, asparagus crowns are by far the best mode of propagation to use. It takes at least 1 year of waiting for the first harvest. When you have made sure that the patch of land is free of weeds, grasses, stones, pests, and debris, proceed to make a trench that is 6 to 8 inches deep and 12 to 18 inches wide. Before planting the asparagus crowns, soak them in lukewarm water. Then plant them at least 18 inches from one another, measuring from root tip to tip. Step 3. Gradually cover your crowns. This practice is largely meant for people who use asparagus crowns. Begin by burying the crowns 2 inches deep with loose soil. Then water them liberally. When the spears grow another 3 inches, cover them once again with loose soil and water them again. Repeat this pattern until the trench is completely covered with soil. Then mound the soil gently around the spears to keep water from pooling around them. When should you plant them? When planting by crowns, the best time to plant asparagus is in the spring, when temperatures are somewhat cool. However, they also thrive when planted in warmer temperatures, but you want to make sure that the soil and air are not too warm. Extra practices. It is recommended that you do routine mulching so that the soils around your asparagus remain moist throughout, and to discourage weeds from growing around the spears. Also, remember to fertilize your asparagus routinely to make sure they get as much nutrition as they need for optimal growth. How simple was that? Now you have no reason not to grow asparagus in your backyard. For any questions and comments, feel free to drop them in the comments section, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Remember also to give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. See you in the next video.